thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Great, man. That's the truth.
You live in Texas, Stone. I mean, that's part of the
kind of dull, Larry.
Yeah. It's all that dust and all that tumbleweed out there.
Thanks, buddy.
I didn't even say Delta 8.
Yeah,
cloud.
That's okay.
Yeah,
you got it in though, didn't you?
You got to tell the truth sometimes.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, you guys. It is Thursday, March 12th, 2026, and today is a National Popcorn Lovers Day. Mm-hmm.
I'm up here at 30,000 feet with George Carlin in my bag of popcorn.
Oh, I bet.
That's where I spend a lot of time.
I don't doubt that for 1 second, Dale. It's also National Skin Barrier Day for all you exfoliators out there. Everyone that
like
out there,
a natural condom too.
For everyone that likes facials, you know what I'm saying, Dale?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See how I did that, Nate? Did you catch that? Just want to make sure. Okay. All right. It's also it's also National Baked Scallops Day.
I don't prefer mine baked, I don't think.
You know, I feel you, Dale. I feel you, Stone. I'm with you. I'm not too sure about the baked part, but it probably is healthier. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they do that for potato chips. They're baked, not fried. You know what I mean?
I enjoy a good sear on my scallop. That doesn't happen in the bake.
I think you can get that same sear if you just pull out your torch.
I'll just get baked and then I'll cook scallops.
All right. Fair enough. It's also National Plant a Flower Day.
Yes.
I'm not mad at that. You know, it's ready for springtime.
The flower.
Yeah.
A flower.
Hey, what do you like, Dale?
A flower is a result of planting. Stick a flower in the ground don't really do too much.
Not if you buy them from the nursery, Dale. Not if you buy them from the nursery.
You're overthinking that one, Dale.
Yeah, he's over. He's a smart guy. Sometimes that happens.
It's getting technical here.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Girl Scout Day. Shout out to all the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of them cookies hanging around. Supporting them Girl Scouts.
Oh man, they're bad for you, Dale. Watch out. They're gonna kill you.
I know.
Yeah.
Life is bad for you, but hey, so what?
Fair enough.
Does everybody remember the crazy amounts of heavy metals that it came out?
That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, that was some scary numbers right there, especially compared to things like cannabis. Blew the doors off of the limits that we have to work within.
More heavy metal than an AC/DC concert. Mm-hmm. And let's see. It's also I love this one. It's National Working Moms Day.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to all the working moms out there. You know what I mean?
Shout out to working moms.
You know things I'm not going to say.
Why not, Stone? What's the matter? You don't support working moms?
I think that those lines that I popped in my head is probably something that you would say out loud. So I'm going to keep it to myself.
I mean,
I'm gonna blow your cover here, Stone.
I mean, in all fairness, Stone, working moms don't only work at strip clubs. Just so you know.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Is that what you were thinking?
Wow. Yeah, that's cute, Stone. Cute.
Wow.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And there's a newly filed federal bill would require the VA to study and provide psychedelic treatments, Dale. Look at that. A new bipartisan bill would mandate the Department of Veterans Affairs to establish innovative therapy centers of excellence. I like how that sounds. That would study and provide psychedelic-assisted treatments for veterans. The legislation, titled Innovative Therapies Centers of Excellence Act of 2025, or S4031, seeks to designate at least 5 VA medical facilities as specialized hubs for research and clinical care. Under the proposal, $30 million would be appropriated annually to fund these centers, which would focus on substances such as MDMA, Psilocybin, Ibogaine, and DMT to treat conditions ranging from post-traumatic stress disorder to chronic pain. The bill was introduced by Senators Ruben Gaiello, a Democrat from Arizona, and Dave McCormick, a Republican from Pennsylvania, on March 9th. In a quote, "Too many veterans are suffering without effective treatment options," Gallego, a Marine Corps veteran, said in a statement accompanying the bill's filing. "If emerging therapies like psychedelics show promise, we have a responsibility to study them and ensure veterans have access to the best possible care. To ensure high clinical standards, the designated facilities would be required to maintain affiliations with accredited medical schools or schools of psychiatry and social work. Partnerships that would be intended to provide specialized training. The initiative is supported by veterans advocacy groups that see it as a necessary evolution of the VA healthcare system." Melissa Lavancy, founder and CEO of the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition, believes it has wider significance as well. "This legislation represents more than a research initiative. It's a step toward building the clinical and policy infrastructure needed to responsibly integrate innovative therapies into modern health care," Lavancy said. "The VA can serve as a national proving ground, helping generate the evidence and care models that could ultimately benefit patients across the entire healthcare system." Senator McCormick said the bill would help the federal government catch up with rapid developments in the private pharmaceutical industry. In an interview with Military.com, he emphasized the importance of closing treatment gaps for veterans. If the bill becomes law, it will ensure the VA keeps pace with the private sector by expanding access to cutting-edge treatments like MDMA-assisted therapy. "We owe them nothing less than our very best," McCormick said. The legislation specifically targets covered conditions, including depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and substance use disorders, in addition to PTSD. Let's see. The bill was developed through consultation with stakeholders to ensure the framework reflects both scientific rigor and the real-world needs of veterans, says Amy Rising, a United States Air Force veteran and advocate with direct knowledge of the drafting process, she told Filter. That happens to be my work wife in D.C. too, by the way. She added that the result is a structured pathway for the VA to evaluate promising new treatments. Jay Kopelman, CEO of the veteran-oriented Mission to Live Foundation, heralded S4031's filing as a watershed moment. A retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Marines, he has advocated in support of the bill alongside Levestani and her organization in recent months, praising the legislation that mandates the research and clinical trials of psychedelic medicines in the VA health system is a quantum leap forward in finally getting veterans access to the life-changing care that they so richly deserve here in the U.S., Copeland told Filter. "I thank Senator Gallego and all who support this act for their courage and recognition that we have a crisis in our veteran population. And as a former Marine, Senator Gallego knows and understands this better than most." The introduction of S4031 follows a November 2025 announcement by the VA that 9 facilities, including locations in Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Bronx, are already participating in multi-year studies on psychiatric compounds. In terms of the broader landscape of federal psychiatric policy reforms efforts, S4031 arrives alongside its House companion, House Bill H.R. 2623, as a third major piece of psychedelics-related legislation filed in the current session. In December of 2025, Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, and Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, introduced the Freedom to Heal Act, and it proposes expanding 2018's federal right to try law, which granted eligible patients with life-threatening conditions legally protected access to certain drugs that haven't been FDA approved, including Schedule I substances under DEA jurisdiction like psilocybin, ibogaine, and MDMA, that have undergone at least one round of phase 1 clinical trials. And while the Freedom to Heal Act has generated a number of endorsements from high-profile psychedelic and veteran advocacy organizations, it appears unlikely to advance further. A leaked email correspondence from the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee indicated that the bill's lack of necessary support, as Double Blind magazine reported back in February. You guys, what do y'all have to say about this? I love the title of this bill personally. What do you have to say?
Well, what I would say is that we still have a lot of entrenched negative thinkers in policy positions. I'm harkening back to Sue Sisley trying to study weed and PTSD and the circuitous route she had to go through, including getting fired before she finally could show that smoking weed helps PTSD.
Yeah.
What we all in the veteran community know is that these psychedelics work. They're beginning to understand some of how they work, but it's still mysterious. It requires more testing, and that seems to be where they want to take it. You've got to prove it's effective before we'll approve it, rather than we know it works right now. Can we figure out how it works? And oh, by the way, can we not, give people negatives on their resumes or in their life because they choose to use these psychedelics to treat things that the medical community still has its head up its ass about.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Stone?
Yeah, I think it's great. Obviously, it's great news for the veterans. It's sad that our government has held shit like this down as long as it has. Maybe the real therapy here in Washington is finally confronting its own hypocrisy.
Oh, interesting perspective there.
Yeah, there's a pill for that, right?
Yeah.
Therapeutic centers of excellence. I just sound like I just want to go in there and just, sign up. Yeah, let me in. This place is made for me. You know what I mean? I'm about
please. It's a word game. It'll have all the nice colors in it and all that kind of shit. We have guys hitting a DMT pin. We're watching him for 20 minutes while he's freaking out and come back and, oh, you're better now? Yes, I am. We don't need flashy lights and shit. Or the same thing with psilocybin or microdosing acid, ibogaine. There's a whole lot that's being done right now, and you still have to do it on the QT. If you get caught, there's still ramifications. But the vets I'm working with are like happy. They hug you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better now.
Any thoughts on this, Nate?
Anybody who is going in this direction, what are the best avenues? And this is just an authentic question. I don't know the answer. What are the best avenues they can go about in order to educate themselves on how they may approach therapy, where to get things, stuff like that? Is it literally existing? And Dale, you may know this best, from vet to vet, person to person, word of mouth kind of thing, and the internet, and it's pretty much, it stops there. And there's no other sources of education that people have even had up to this point? Or could you educate me a little bit on that real quick?
Yeah. Well, what's happened is that in the established medical schools, they still don't even really teach about the endocannabinoid system when you take neurophysiology. Molly and I watched one of those. She actually took it. We watched more recent ones, and they just kind of skip around it. They talk about the endo-opioid system, and how that works. And they talk about other systems that communicate with the other, but they seem to just stay away from this. And so what you end up with a lot of people who call themselves experts, and you really have to take a large grain of salt with that. But it's not that difficult to take a few dried mushroom heads, grind them up, and swallow them. And then, okay, how do you feel? And that's anecdotal, but medicine is not set up today to deal with anecdotal. They want to be able to prove it. Otherwise, some asshole lawyer is going to sue you if something doesn't work out right. And so they're very defensive in the way they think. So you end up getting a lot of information that you have to critically think, Nate, because if you know anything about anatomy and physiology, especially human physiology, neurophysiology, this is very complicated. The waters are deep, and the people who come out telling you they know what the hell they're talking about, you should figure they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and look for multiple sources. Because physicians out there use this, they just keep it on the QT.
Yeah,
but that's not good enough. They want to be able to oversee it and participate in the long-term outtake therapy or make it part of ongoing therapy. So you can actually monitor people. And right now it's, to be blunt, it's a shit show out there. It really is.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll.
Frustrating.
We're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Struggle.
Yes, and we are back, you guys. And the Michigan Supreme Court is asked to rule on marijuana use and prohibition. That's right. The Michigan Supreme Court will soon decide whether prohibiting marijuana use while on probation is legal. That's right. The Michigan Supreme Court heard oral arguments on March 11th in the case of People of Michigan versus Danielle Heaven Leah Hess. At issue is whether the use of marijuana can legally be prohibited while a person is on probation after cannabis was legalized for adult use purposes in 2018. In August of 2021, Hess pleaded guilty to one count of third-degree retail fraud and was sentenced to 1 year of probation. The probation order prohibited Hess from using or possessing marijuana and required that she submit to marijuana drug screenings. On 2 occasions in 2022, she tested positive for marijuana, resulting in 2 violations of her probation. Hess pleaded guilty to the first probation violation, but following the second violation, she asked the district court to amend the terms of her probation to allow the use and possession of marijuana, to remove her first violation, and to dismiss her second violation, arguing that the condition of prohibiting marijuana use during probation violated state law. The Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, or the MRTMA, which allows for adult use cannabis. Emma Lawton, an assistant defender at the State Appellate Defender Office who is representing Hess, said the MRTMA provides broad coverage. She gave a hypothetical example. Does a person violate their probation by lawfully working at a dispensary? Because in the eyes of the federal government, they are distributing a Schedule I controlled substance. The answer is no. Michigan Supreme Court Chief Justice Megan Kavanaugh, with a C, asked why, if probation is never required, the court should not be looking at this issue this way. There is a number of examples of lawful conduct that somebody may choose to forego in order to receive probation, as opposed to a prison sentence, including legal alcohol use, including association with somebody, including the right to drive a vehicle. So why would agreeing to forego otherwise illegal conduct under MRTMA be any different? Lawton responded that that it depends if the request to forego something is lawful. The condition of prohibiting marijuana use is unlawful, she argued, because the law that legalized cannabis specifically says that there may not be any penalties imposed and there may not be any privileges revoked for the lawful use of cannabis. Alcohol use, for example, does have those same protections under the state law, she said. That's a crafty argument. Thomas Ginster, the Montcalm County prosecuting attorney who is representing the state, said probation is a privilege and otherwise lawful conduct can be a valid term of probation if rationally and reasonably related to the rehabilitation of the offender. Kavanaugh asked how requiring Hess to refrain from marijuana use as a condition of probation relates to the case, and they said, the fact that this is rationally related and reasonably related was never contested, Ginster said. There is a strong and undeniable correlation between criminal activity and illicit substances. This is not the first case Michigan Supreme Court has taken up related to marijuana since it was legalized for adult use, and the court last year ruled that the smell of marijuana alone is no longer sufficient probable cause for police to search a vehicle in light of its legalization, overturning a 25-year-old precedent. More on this decision, though, because Michigan Supreme Court, the marijuana smell alone cannot justify a police search of a vehicle. Meanwhile, earlier this month, the U.S. Supreme Court took up the issue of whether someone's use of marijuana and other drugs makes them too dangerous or irresponsible to have a gun. A decision in People of Michigan versus Danielle Haven Lee Hess is expected at the end of the term, which is July 31st, and John Nevin, a spokesperson for the Michigan Supreme Court, said in an email. Interesting, you guys. I think that this lady's attorney brought up a very valid argument, and I was going to side with the other side for a while until I heard the spin on this case, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. I think she may possibly get a favorable ruling.
Yeah. Well, generically saying that you can't use a legal substance that has nothing to do with the case, I think is a problem here. It's like, if you get arrested for fraud and they say you can't use alcohol, yeah, that's an example right there.
Yep.
Like, you can't punish me. My alcohol is nothing. I wasn't drunk when I did this. And it's sort of the same argument here because it's like the same when we have the gun argument at the Supreme Court. Just because you use it, therefore you're dangerous. Hang on. I think you need an individualized factual finding here.
Yeah.
That we need to impose this on somebody who's going to go on probation, because most people go on probation. Most people who get caught doing something stupid end up on probation. And to blanket prevent them from using something that's lawful to use that doesn't relate to the case, I think is problematic. So maybe they have to add an individualized determination in the pre-sentencing report that this person has a problem with a substance or whatever, before they impose this kind of a sanction on somebody.
Interesting.
I agree, 100%. If it's legal for adults in Michigan, then punishing people for using it while they're rebuilding their lives isn't justice. It's just leftover prohibition dressed as supervision. Bullshit.
Exactly. They need to get told no.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this, Nate?
No, nothing unique to add.
Okay.
These guys pretty much nailed the key ideas here.
Yeah.
As an onlooker, it's just silly, but I mean, that's not unique. That's not a unique observation. Everybody here knows that.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the argument that when you're on probation, you give up different rights, you know what I'm saying? Like they alluded to as far as your driving right, depending on the case and And I think that if they could have proven that she had cannabis in her system at the time of the theft or whatnot, then I think that would be reasonable for them to say that she can't smoke weed. But I think based off the argument of her counsel, which is a brilliant argument, I think she may get this component removed or striked out of her probation agreement. And I guess, well, on that, we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. And Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He is blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow, but he is honest, and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinions, and anyone that wants to identify as anything else's opinion. And he will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, it is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can find him at his own law office, at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. On the East Coast, it's went from sweltering to freezing cold. So
yeah,
pull up. This is Tio Loco, Jason's favorite full of shiticus, And I have another psychedelic psilocybin story this morning. It comes out of Marijuana Moment. The headline is Psilocybin helps people quit cigarettes more effectively than nicotine patches do. American Medical Association published study shows. Now, the headline from that is the AMA published a study on this, which is, for me, a very good sign here of where this is going. And when you take a look at the numbers, what they really did, took a small cohort of people, they followed them for a period of time. They had a nicotine use disorder. They're addicted to nicotine. It's words now, we got to use the right words, but they had a nicotine use disorder. And they had one group take, a large dose of psilocybin where they're going to trip for a while. And the other group didn't. They sent them in, they put them on a patch, actually, a nicotine patch, and they put them into cognitive behavioral therapy, which is trying to help you understand why you do the stupid shit you do, why your brain doesn't tell you no, okay, and how to interrupt that cycle. And then they followed them longitudinally for a while. They found that people who used a dose of psilocybin were less likely to smoke. Their numbers were down with smoking. So it was something that should pique a lot of people's interest, because what they're beginning to understand now is that there are multiple systems in the body above the dopamine drive, and that's where most addiction tends to be, is the dopamine dump you get keeps you going back, and next thing you know, your dopamine system is all whacked out. And these systems operate above and beyond what we think is our typical dopamine drive systems in the body. And I think this is encouraging, because what we have now is an inability to be able to effectively treat addiction without using some sort of a medication. And when I was in prison, I was forced to go to these classes, and I was sort of a turd in their punch bowl, because I kept pointing out the inconsistencies what they're saying. It's like with AA, only 5% of people who go to AA actually successfully, stop drinking. The other 95% pack up their dolls and leave. They don't want to talk about those. They just talk about their successes. And the problem is most people who go into addiction treatment have problems with it. They fall off and on the wagon. I mean, look at Matthew Perry. He called it the animal doing a one-arm push-up outside. These are serious problems for human beings in our society, because drugs are everywhere. Nicotine is a legal one. Alcohol is a legal one. They're addicting. And beyond that, a lot more are addicting. And they're beginning to get some windows now into how this works, but it really requires a whole lot of targeted study so that we understand, and by say we, I mean the medical community and people who are trying to help you with these addictions understand how it's working. And the medical community, they're pusillanimous in my opinion, because if the DEA says don't do something, their butt puckers up and they won't do it. The few that'll go outside of that are risking a lot. Okay, and in our story, Molly, her medical license went away, went to prison. So the message was, don't mess with us. But if we back up in time, up until the 1920s, a doctor could maintain your opium addiction by prescribing opiates to you, morphine especially. The Supreme Court said no. Doctors stopped doing that. But now as we move forward, we're finding out a lot of things seem to help people with addiction that you might not have thought about in the past. Giving someone a maintenance of an addictive drug that's at a clinical level so they're not feeling high, but they don't go chase that drug, is one way to do it. But the DEA really doesn't want you doing that. So what we're beginning to understand now, from the 1950s, when they started looking for the truth serum, the CIA, wanted to, go give everybody a drug and see if it'll make them talk. And they found out that, mushrooms are pretty good as an antidepressant. That was discovered in the 1950s. Okay. And when we get to the Controlled Substances Act, that's going to Schedule 1. Tim Leary was a nut. We don't want this stuff happening. Weed went there. Heroin went there. And these were designed to punish people rather than to study it. And to go back further, in the 1890s, there was a push to get rid of all alternative medicine, to push it into pharmacological. Rockefeller was looking for new places to, sell his oil, and pharmaceuticals were a good place to be. We pushed to turn medicine into pharmaceutically driven, and that the courses of studies were all made uniform. And so what came out of that is anything that wasn't mainstream allopathic medicine in the days was just pushed off to the side. And it's been very, very difficult to get that to come back into accepted medicine. So studies like this that were done by the AMA, and what are you going to say? The AMA has an agenda here to push legalization of drugs. No, they don't. But what's becoming obvious is that there are chemical systems in the body that help people that fall into these dopamine-driven addictions. And the gut talks to the brain. We figured that one out. But the brain has systems higher than just dopamine that can help control dopamine deficiencies in the brain. And they can now do scans of the brain and see how that's happening and progressing. So I would hope that someone would now put some money into targeted studies here to go along with the VA's magical place to show up and take some mushrooms and get better, to where we can work out how do we actually do this? Where do the dosages start? That's the phase 3 studies for all medicine today. Not only is it safe and effective, but now what dosage do we use? Nobody really seems to understand that yet. I mean, I've had people call me. They told me it was a microdose, Dale, and I'm on the road and I'm seeing stars and shit. It's like, dude, somebody lied to you about a microdose. This is the problems we face, because medical practitioners or people who would be involved in the therapy are really not certain about what dose to start with, okay, and what to do with that. And then outtake therapy, how does that actually work? So I'm encouraged by this, but what I would say is that we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. These GLP-1s that they are now using for weight loss, they seem to be effective in helping people with addiction also. Now, why is that? Well, I don't know, because they're being marketed by everybody and his brother to help you lose weight. But wait until they figure out that it helps with addiction, and we'll be bombarded with pharmaceutical, take your Ozempic to stop taking your meth or whatever. I mean, you can just see the marketing coming for this. But for the practitioners, the people who are in the room trying to make sure you're not having a bad trip, and then what do we do afterwards? That's where more information is needed. And I hope this is going to take steps towards funding that and coming back for practitioners to know what to do, how to treat somebody that gets too much, what to do to increase the doses, and then how to handle people in therapy afterwards. I'm going to throw us back to you guys for your comments.
Oh, yes. Wow. I mean, to me, again, anything that helps support the veterans and helps with them, I'm down with. I want the veterans to have anything that they have that they feel that they need, makes them better and able to be rehabilitated back into society. So that's my take on it.
This was not a veteran study.
It was not?
No, this is just people who smoke tobacco, were addicted to nicotine.
I thought it said veterans in there.
Well, of course, because veterans are the ones that are the most vocal. Hey, I microdosed and I'm feeling better. Why are you giving me my bag full of pills? I want something different. We're very vocal about this. It's like, what are you going to do to me? I already served my country.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. I want my veteran friends to get better, and I'm going to be very vocal. I'm going to scream at people. If you're putting up artificial roadblocks, you're a problem for me.
Yeah.
As I've seen this work, I've used it myself. Okay, I know it works for me, and I don't want to extrapolate to other people. But studies like this are windows into the ability to use something other than I told you not to use it, therefore you have to stop. Because that one's just not effective. I'm sorry.
Interesting.
I I can tell you why GLP-1s help people with addiction, and like they're referring to alcohol, because if you're on a GLP-1, 2, or 3, and you have your normal amount of cocktails, you can throw up all over the place. So it makes it very difficult. That's why that works.
Really?
Well, but the bigger question, Ginny Beth, is let's look at those systems that medical schools are not teaching and see if we can figure out what they are. Because something is triggering you not to follow that compulsion for the dopamine drops. I mean, the puking works, but on top of that, we find that people just have less desire to use it, which is a good thing.
I don't know. I'm
Because
a big.
puking and drinking, I mean, they go hand in hand. Every time I got too shit-faced, I was commode hugging. Oh, it didn't stop me from drinking.
I am not a puker, and I am a connoisseur of all fine wines and scotches and maybe tequilas and sometimes some vodka. And when I was on a GLP-1, I found out very quickly that shouldn't do that.
That's why I heard on
Jason?
GLP-1s. It's supposed to be the same thing with food too. Like you eat too much, you feel sick. Like you don't want it. It makes you physically not want it.
Yeah, you can't eat.
100%.
You can't eat. Like yeah, exactly. Like you just. I'm good. Like
What's interesting to me, guys, is that there's a biochemical connection from the gut and the brain about satiation. And this is interfering with that. It's also making you nauseous when you think about it. But that's the higher level that, I mean, we found out ghrelin, which is going to be called an endocannabinoid at some point. It's one of the chemicals that tells your brain you're satiated. Okay.
Yeah.
And the brain also has signals to tell you, oh, get nauseated because of something. That's internal. That's the insula. And how all this stuff works. I mean, I get kind of geeky about this stuff. I know it works, but I want to know more about why it works to help understand the brain, because the brain's very complicated. The waters are very deep.
I mean, I'm a big fan of GLP-1s, and Mickey Hart needs to chill out. He's having a hard time over there, Jenny Beth. What's going on with him?
I think he got a hairball. He just woke up. He's been sleeping late. He's an old man. He makes old man noises. Dale, you cough in the morning?
Hairball.
Yeah, he's got
hairball up, Ginny Beth.
poor Mickey Hart. Poor Mickey Hart.
He's doing good.
I mean, but you know, GLP is one that, I mean, they do make you feel full longer. They don't, you don't feel a desire or a craving to want to eat, to want to drink, or any of that. And Jenny is right, is that when you do eat too much or drink too much or whatnot, you do get, you know, your body is literally telling you, like, hey, I've had enough. I'm waving the white flag. Don't just stop right now. We're good. You know what I'm saying? Keep it moving, buddy.
Well, but my concern is training the next generation of physicians, because they're beginning to go, you know, above the cause and effect. What's the circuit between the cause and the effect? If taking a GLP-1 makes you nauseous, you don't eat as much, how does that cycle work? And the last time I looked, they weren't even teaching the endocannabinoid system. So can we get above that and start getting some better understanding of why? Because that's what medicine's supposed to be about. If we don't understand the answer, let's look for it. And there's just huge questions here, just screaming out, throw some money at this. They throw money at every stupid goddamn idea you can think about. Let's throw some money at this and see if we can get real experts in the area, neurobiologists, people with PhDs and MDs in this, with their imaging studies, and see if we can figure out what's going on here so we can teach people who want to go out and help people learn to get healthier without having to pop a damn pill. Because they'll teach you, oh, here's all the pills to take, without really teaching you how they work. But this one, they won't really call it a pill yet or a pharmaceutical yet. They won't even call cannabis a pharmaceutical. But we know it does stuff. Can we figure out why? And that's where I want to start my attention, because ultimately I am a doctor. I've been in these courses. I understand how some of this works. But I'm just curious. My curiosity takes me into meta-analysis here. And to just say, oh, you do this and it causes that, it's like, no, that's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
I want to follow the entire trip around the moon. What happened when we weren't looking and didn't know, so that we can know better next time.
I love a good trip around the moon.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. And any other final thoughts on this, you guys?
we are experts on these shots because we've used them, Nick Bradley. Just wanted to let you know I refuse to be anybody's fat wife at any point in time. So
yeah, and shout out. Yeah, I'm
Problem
not.
is what happens when you stop using them. That's the concern now for the medical community. These are not lifetime drugs to be used, and they're going that direction.
I don't know. I don't know, Dale. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It may just be all about incorporating a healthy lifestyle. GLP-1s for the win.
GLP-3s actually.
Until they start dropping like flies and the first class action suits come along. I'm just telling you, I've watched this movie before.
Oh.
There's an Ozempic class action for Ozempic for aggressive thyroid cancer. So I'm on a GLP-3 that I microdose that actually improves liver function and things like that. So it's kind of like, and shout out to NAD 500 plus.
Yeah.
We're going to reverse that cellular aging. We all try to look like Stone Slade, so Emmett will hit on us in the comments too.
I'm a big fan of biohacking personally. I think biohacking is the way to go, and anything that helps you eat less poisonous food, I think is probably better for you overall than eating all the poison food like all those Girl Scout cookies, Dale.
Well, remember, there are no solutions. There's only trade-offs.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
I gotta go against you with the biohacking thing. I really do think that there's a lot to be said about just having a really good diet and ultimately, moderated use of certain things like cannabis that we know are generally positive and healthy for you. I know maybe, when it comes to genetics and body types and stuff, it's not an option for everybody, but I really do think that for at least a good number of people, there should not be a replacement for just being healthy. And too often do I see people jumping on these bandwagons who treat it like a guaranteed weight loss means without huge body changes, like lifestyle changes.
But Nate,
and what's that, brother?
What if your definition of health isn't really truly health? You just think that it is.
I mean, try to knock me off of, just telling you should eat chicken and vegetables generally.
Yeah.
I try to, unless you're vegetarian, in which case your diet gets a lot more complex.
I'm more happy with steak and eggs, Nate. Steak and eggs as opposed to chicken.
There are ranges of normal though, Jason, where you go to the doctor, he does a blood test, you're in the range of normal. Does that mean you're healthy? No.
Yeah, but see, Dale,
it's a metric for health.
I've been abnormal my whole life.
Well, I know that. We're beyond that. Okay. So am I. I'm come from the Abbey.
Yeah.
The Abbey normal.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about here is the Lawyers Full Employment Act is coming because they jumped on the bandwagon. Everybody's brother's taking this. They got a pill now. And the next thing you know, you stop taking it and you gain more weight back than you had before. Because humans want comfort. They want the easy path. If you tell them you got to lose 40 pounds by changing your diet, or I'll give you this shot, guess what they're going to choose?
Well, if you take the shot, though, Dale, you're going to change your diet automatically because you're not going to be able to eat as much, and it doesn't work if you have bad food in your diet. They just don't work.
They definitely do still work because I've seen it work for people, but I think it's important lifestyle change. So a little bit of retatrutide, some NAD, and Legree work for me. And for you guys who don't know what Legree is, it's Pilates for people who actually want a real workout.
And on that,
see, this is a study that I talked about had cognitive behavioral therapy as a requirement, so that when you go to stuff that shit in your mouth, you go, wait a second, why am I doing this? And you interrupt the cycle. It's like when you start to take a cig, you go, why am I doing this? Well, you interrupt the cycle. I think that's necessary. And the problem is that everybody jumped on the GLP-1 bandwagon because they made a hell of a lot of money. And at some point, they're going to recognize that this has an end life to it. And now what do we do to get people off of this? Because the rebound, you get fatter than you were before, and now you're even unhealthier than you were before. And what is this going to cause long-term in the system? It hasn't been around enough to know what the 10, 20, 30-year legacy is going to be of this.
Fair enough.
It's the Delta 8 of weight loss. Be careful.
Oh, I see what you did there, Stone. That was cute. But on that, we got to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back. That was. It's not playing.
Oh, shit, we're still here.
Gabriel, yeah.
Somebody say
no.
yeah.
As bad as Democrats.
The backstabbing rhino Republicans.
President Trump has fought and delivered, but liberal young Kim is a Trump hater. Kim voted to censure President Trump, but voted against censoring Adam Schiff.
I don't work for President Trump. I will oppose him in the strongest terms. I'm not running for the party of Trump.
Republicans proudly stand with President Trump, but not Trump-hating liberal young Kim. Americans for Security is responsible for the content of this advertising.
And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And you too will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. Make sure that you are subscribed to us on X and Rumble, as those are the most two stable platforms on the metaverse. And join us on Sunday at 2 p.m. Hollywood Boulevard, Man's Chinese Theater, with Catalyst as we protest these pedophiles.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
You guys are conflating. That's what liberals do.
Awesome.
That's what liberals do. Yeah, they just they make up their own ends of sentences all the time. Speaking of liberals, we're gonna go right into the bluest lagoon in Texas. That's right, Austin, with Mr. Stone Slade, the man who loves to stroll, and roll while he's hitting the high road. It is none other than Mr. Stone Slade.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
I've got a fun story today. The science behind the Munchies, and it might not be what you think. For decades, cannabis users have shared a universal experience. You take a couple puffs, everything feels good, and suddenly the kitchen starts calling your name. The Munchies, as we all know them, have been a running joke in movies, TV shows, and late-night comedy for years. The classic stereotype is someone devouring a mountain of cookies, chips, or an entire pizza that they weren't even thinking about 20 minutes before. But here's the thing, science is finally catching up with something cannabis users have understood for a long time. The Munchies are real. It's the story behind them turns out to be a lot more interesting than simply getting high and eating junk food. Researchers studying cannabis and appetite say most of the explanation comes from the body's endocannabinoid system. This is a network of receptors that helps regulate mood, pain, memory, and appetite. When THC enters the body, it activates your cannabinoid receptors in several parts of the brain. One key area involved is the hypothalamus, which helps control hunger signals. In simple terms, THC can make your brain think you're hungry even if you just ate. None of this will surprise anyone that's ever found themselves staring at the refrigerator wondering how the cheese drawer suddenly became so fascinating. But in a new study from researchers at Washington State University, wanting to dig deeper, not just into whether cannabis makes people eat more, but what they actually choose to eat. In the experiment, 82 volunteers between the ages of 21 and 62 inhaled either cannabis or a placebo. Afterwards, they were allowed to choose from a variety of snack options. Sure enough, people who consumed cannabis ate significantly more than the placebo group. But here's the part researchers did not expect. They did not immediately go for the sugary junk food that everyone assumes comes with the Munchies. Instead, participants often gravitated towards savory, protein-rich snacks. One of the most popular choices was beef jerky, not brownies, cookies, or candy. It was beef jerky. And if you've ever experienced cannabis making flavors pop a little more, the result actually does make sense. THC is known to amplify sensory perception, including taste and smell. Foods with strong flavors or a combination of salt and protein simply become more satisfying in that moment. So when cannabis turns the dial up on your senses, something bold and savory might beat out a sugar rush. Another interesting find is not all cannabis products trigger the Munchies in the same way. THC is strongly associated with appetite stimulation, but other cannabinoids have behave differently. One example is THCV, a compound that some research suggests may actually suppress appetites in certain situations. That means depending on the cannabinoid profile or even terpene profile, different cannabis products could influence hunger in different ways. And that's where this research gets especially interesting in a medical perspective. Doctors have long recognized cannabis as a potential tool for patients struggling with appetite loss. For people dealing with serious illnesses like cancer or HIV, maintaining weight and nutrition can be critical for recovery and quality of life. In those situations, the Munchies are not a joke, they're therapeutic. As cannabis science continues to evolve, researchers hope to better understand how cannabinoids interact with the brain's hunger signals and how those effects might be in medicine, and how those effects might be in medicine. Wow. So yes, the Munchies are real, but science suggests that may be a little more sophisticated than the stereotype of stoner teenagers eating a bag of chips. Sometimes it's salty, sometimes it's savory. Sometimes it's whatever happens to be left in the fridge. So the next time cannabis sends you wandering into the kitchen late at night, just remember, you're not losing control. Your brain's just ordering snacks. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Oh, look at that. You're just ordering snacks, Stone.
Yeah.
What's your favorite stoner snack, Stone?
Whatever's in the fridge.
Whatever's in the fridge. Whatever your wife buys.
Yeah, I don't know. Just really whatever's in the fridge. I don't. When I do have a sweet tooth, I have a really big sweet tooth, but I got long periods where I go without the sugary stuff. So.
Interesting. You guys want to hear a quick stoner food hack?
Go for it.
Go and get those, Pillsbury or, like brand, pressurized rolls that, come with croissant dough. And you're going to basically make croissants right here, but you're also going to buy like a sampler bag of candy maybe, or your favorite kind of candy. And so you know how delicious like chocolate croissants are, or like a little bit of almond butter in a croissant. Why stop there? I mean, you can wrap these MFs around anything, like a Three Musketeers croissant. Why not? A Snickers croissant? Trust me, bro. Anything in that bag of candy is about to become magical when wrapped in some croissant dough, and then thrown into the oven for 8 to 12 minutes. Like magic on the other side of the suggestion.
Oh, I bet a Butterfinger would be amazing in a croissant.
Like there is virtually nothing. There is virtually nothing stopping you from doing this, Jason. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I'm domestically challenged.
I know the literally last thing that came out of my mouth before this was telling you should eat healthfully. Yeah. So I'm aware of that contrast right there, but you should absolutely try this.
The thing is I love croissants too, bro. They're so good, but like I don't make them, Stone, or I don't make them, Nate. I'm domestically challenged. I don't do anything like that.
Get an air fryer. You'll cut it down to 5 minutes and you'll still be thinking.
I actually do have an air fryer.
All right.
Yeah, but then I'm going to go there and teach them how to use it. That's the whole problem.
Yeah, line that with a little bit of parchment paper and get going, man. Get cracking.
It is plugged in.
Stone, this was an amazing story. Just before I kind of, shut up on this one, I think it's really interesting with how little we know of the endocannabinoid system. And then you have the story come to light where basically people create these windows almost into understanding the endocannabinoid system and see the reflection of it, with this stimulus, with this input, what ends up happening, right? That was really interesting because, yes, we know things taste better. Yes, we know THC has a binding affinity with the parts of the endocannabinoid system that make you hungrier. And yeah, isn't it interesting to also know that the endocannabinoid system is apparently also attached to this primal need to basically tell somebody, if you can get the hunger going, you should get out there and eat your ass some meat right there. Like just get that stuff and start shoveling it in, because these are responses that come from, Dale, what do you always call it? It's our primitive brain right there. It's
our Paleolithic brain.
Yeah, that's that thing right
there. We go.
That and the endocannabinoid system, and we're seeing a Venn diagram there. We're seeing essentially what inputs come in, and when people faced with a choice of what your brain tells you should eat at that point, we're seeing almost like attaching a little electrode to this part of your brain and saying, if we stimulate it, what happens? And people say must eat meat. It's really interesting to get these sort of windows and reflection and how our body works, which are truly unique, because unless you're running a kind of study like this, you would never know the effing difference. You would just assume, THC equals hunger, which, although it's been proven time and time again, what kind of hunger is certainly like inspiring to other areas of research. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents.
Mm.
Well, but this just is the same thing I was talking about with psilocybin. There are connections in the brain that we know we can see the results We just don't know how is this all working. And the the chemical in the gut called ghrelin that directly goes to the brain to tell it, oh, you've had enough. They figured that one out, but that's not enough of an answer here for what we're seeing. And the problem is you can't stick a needle in the brain, pull some tissue out and go, let's go analyze it. People kind of get a little upset when you do that. So we're trying to like figure out what's in the safe by listening on the outside of the safe. So some of the tests they can now do on the brain studies help to show what's lighting up. But I just want to remind people that if you take all the knowledge you have about the human body, what we understand is very little, very little. So a lot of these are educated guesses, and just be careful because they may lead you off a cliff you don't want to go. But this should be part of being taught to every medical student. If we can talk about it here, a medical student should be talking about this and understanding what do we know, what do we not know, how does it affect people. And you want to put your career into studying this, God will fund it. Let's go learn about it. But right now, when Molly had her cancer and the chemo wiped her gut out, there was nothing in there to signal her to have any hunger. So I just kept that pipe in front of her all the time. I want you to eat something. You got to eat something. You're going to die. We know that works. But if the gut's healthy, how is this working up in the brain? That's just one of my curiosities. I get kind of geeky about this stuff, and I'm curious how it works.
Interesting. Interesting. Stone and the Munchies. When Stone is stoned,
Munchies, baby.
Eating Munchies. Are you gonna try Nate's suggestion, Stone, of rolling up these croissants?
Maybe I might. I might. Yeah. I don't know though. I just saw. I was watching the Instagram reels. This guy he made a loaf of bread using 2 packages of the croissant rolls, but he did garlic inside and butter and made garlic. Oh, dude, I might have to go that route. I don't know.
I make cinnamon rolls from scratch, guys. I'm not baking challenge. So
Gate's not. Dale's not fucking around.
Yeah, easy there with the F-bombs. Yeah, easy there.
No, I found a very, very Jenny Beth recipe. It's both Italian and a glizzy. It's focaccia bread with hot dogs in it, and I'm really excited to try that.
Hot dogs. We take any Freudian things from the hot dogs?
She loves a glizzy.
I do love the glizzy. Yeah.
All right. Well, on that, I guess we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll in our final commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Don't. We need to demerits.
Play the Young Kim again. It's not going yet.
Hey, we're cutting down on F-bombs. 1,000%
Let's go
better.
into catching these pedos.
Easy there.
Let's go.
As bad as Democrats,
The backstabbing rhino Republicans.
President Trump has fought and delivered. But liberal Young Kim is a Trump hater. Kim voted to censure President Trump, but voted against censoring Adam Schiff.
I don't work for President Trump. I will oppose him in the strongest terms. I'm not running for the party of Trump.
Republicans proudly stand with President Trump, but not Trump-hating liberal Young Kim. Americans for Security is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yep, and we are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Cann Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back after they've been victims of the track. It is America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills, on Single Mom's Day. Yay.
Thanks, Jason. Christ. Oh, wow. Shout out
to single moms.
I'm a single mom's day than miserable wife day.
Yep.
So, anyhow, all right. Well, I have really good news, and it's exciting news, and it's out of Africa. So we're going to go somewhere we don't normally go, because Ghana is officially entering the legal cannabis industry, but only in a tightly controlled way. The West African nation has launched a regulated licensing program that allows cannabis cultivation strictly for industrial and medicinal use. The country's Narcotics Control Commission is now accepting applications from companies and individuals who want to operate in the legal cannabis sector. The new framework includes 11 different license types covering everything from cultivation and processing to research, transportation, and export, which is kind of dope. But there are strict limits. Only low THC cannabis with 0.3% THC or less is allowed, meaning recreational marijuana remains illegal in Ghana. Officials say the goal is to create a controlled industry that supports pharmaceutical development, hemp products, and rural job growth while preventing misuse. If the sector develops as expected, projections suggest Ghana's legal cannabis industry could eventually generate more than $1 billion annually. With the program now underway, Ghana is positioning itself as one of the first countries in West Africa to build a regulated cannabis market focused on medical and industrial uses. So I'm pretty excited about this, and cannabis cultivation could be a huge money maker for the continent of Africa, and I love to see it happen. And I love that there's a license for research. So maybe we can take a page out of Ghana's book, focus on some of that research that we do now. I'll throw it back to you guys, but good story.
Good.
If I don't say so myself.
Interesting. Let's see. Boom. Oh, look at that. It worked. Oh man, Ghana, Africa. But they're just allowing for hemp, not for like real trees, just for hemp. Yeah, it's a boof trap.
If I had to hazard a guess, there's a trap going on in Ghana. Like there's a trap going on in every place in Africa. Oh, you can only buy 0.3% here. Well, step around the corner, buddy. I got the real stuff. I got the top shelf here.
Exactly.
And I hope they don't tax it. I mean, that, like, learn from us. Don't be taxing the shit out of this. You know, and don't be throwing people in prison because they smoke a blunt. That's another one. Don't be doing that. It didn't work for us, and it's not going to work for you.
It'll be interesting, just in case somebody has like the real thing. You know, what are you going to do? Test it? I have to imagine in certain corners of the world, access to analytics is not something that's widely obtained, especially for every single opportunity you have to potentially punish somebody legally. So just to throw it out there, what's to stop somebody from, you know, having a bag or a container that says hemp and just putting their own stash in it, just throwing it out there. I mean, maybe I'm not super familiar with the culture or anything, but that does seem like a pretty good loophole if you know that the authorities don't have the ability to test it right away or at all even. I mean, it seems like that they're either going to take your word for it or kick your ass. It's going to be one or the other.
I think it's going to be more. I think it's going to be more how much you can pay them to believe that it's low.
It seems like you described the THCA market in America.
I mean, what was going on for a minute. And then if they did, like, just to throw it out there, sorry to interrupt, but if they did gas chromatography testing out there, then THCA be damned, you know, it doesn't even exist in terms of the analytics.
Exactly.
So you have that.
Go for it, Jenny.
I mean, if they have an entire license that's just a research license, one would have to assume that they're probably going to work on putting some analytical involvement in there. But maybe it's time for Bell Coast to Ghana, you know?
Hey. I mean, it's not a bad idea, Jenny.
Your Nate's wife would like that.
Yeah. You got
mosquitoes are as big as little birds there.
It's always sunny in Ghana, except for when it's raining.
Rain.
Yep. Except for when it rains. Interesting.
But anyway, progress is progress. It's slow, but progress.
It is. But, you know, Stone would be able to get around out there because, you know what I'm saying, it'd be all hemp products, so he'd be happy.
Lots of land race out there, Stone. You'd be getting some good stuff.
Get out of here.
Oh, man, that you'd be literally hitting the high road, Stone.
Bro, there's gonna be like a new viewers are gonna totally think that you're not full of shit. So you're killing me.
You really think that? And
we all know.
What? This guy's the hemp guy?
You're full of shit? Yes, we think you're full of shit. We absolutely do.
I mean, yes. Stone, you are kind of you are the hemp guy in my world, Stone.
You are the full of shit guy.
Stone, you're such a good sport, bro. Such a good sport, Stone. I have one final story for you.
Oh, there it is. Pulling up the caboose, the biggest rear end at the High at 9 News. Toot, toot. Here comes Jason Beck.
Oh, yes. And why has enforcement slowed against Maine's Chinese marijuana grows, you ask? Well, in 2024, Maine police kicked off a year of sudden and invisible enforcement against suspected illegal cannabis grow houses. Search warrants were executed in more than 60 single-family homes across the state, and nearly 40 people were arrested. Since then, enforcement seems to have ground to a halt, although local police say that's not because they have stamped out all the grow houses. After President Donald J. Trump won the White House, the administration promised a swift crackdown on Maine's illicit grows, and the Senate appointed Andrew Benson as the state's new U.S. attorney, with the support of Maine Republicans and Senator Susan Collins, who reinforced illegal Chinese grows in her statement supporting his nomination. But the filing of new search warrants has largely stopped. Fewer than 10 suspected grow houses have been searched in the last 12 months, and despite a handful of recently guilty pleas, the U.S. Attorney's Office hasn't filed new charges against alleged Maine growers in roughly just as long. Both Benson and representatives from his office declined repeated requests for an interview about the grow houses or the investigations into them. And some state law enforcement agencies say there is still no coordinated federal effort to root out any of the illegal operations, which means the burden of investigating what they've called a network of transnational criminal groups that has established hundreds of illicit grows across the state has often fallen on them, and most say they lack the necessary resources. "You have so many barriers," said Guy Dow, a sergeant with the Pisiquantus County Sheriff's Office, who has executed search warrants at 10 grow houses across the county so far. "These cases have been very, very difficult to work with compared to any other case I've ever worked on. The investigations often include more than cannabis and stretch across jurisdictions. Property owners usually live out of state and traffic laborers to grows, according to local police, though no one has been charged with human trafficking in Maine. Many workers don't speak English or know the names of the towns where they've been sent to work," police say. And in recent years, a significant factor in the downturn has been the grows shift into legal markets. Many once illicit operations have become licensed to grow legally in Maine's loosely regulated medical cannabis industry, often to subvert law enforcement scrutiny. Of the more than 60 grow houses searched across Maine since 2023, about 2/3 were in Penobscot, Piscataquis, and Somerset counties. Each county sheriff has described a similar problem. "We are able to do investigations," said Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton told legislators in January. "But to actually prosecute these cases, there was the challenge. For police, identifying grow houses and building the basis for a case is easy. In dozens of warrants, police narratives, and other documents reviewed by the Press Herald, police use the same methods to identify suspected illegal grow houses. Most can be spotted or smelled between their shuttered windows, numerous heat pumps, and unmistakably pungent odor. The next step is to often find the property records, which generally show the homes were bought in cash within the last few years, usually by people from out of state. Subpoenaed electronic records often show a spike in electricity following the purchase. But police say investigating the web of who's running these operations is tricky, and they often cross county and sometimes state lines, and most investigations require coordination between county sheriffs and federal agencies, they say. "Resources are limited in any organization," said Somerset County Sheriff Dale Lancaster, whose office has searched more than 20 grow houses so far. "There's a lot of things going on in both the state and local government. Correlating a team of dedicated investigators from short-staffed agencies to investigate suspected criminal networks is difficult, and many officers feel their time is better spent elsewhere," according to several law enforcement sources. Even when police have enough information to press charges, several sheriffs said few prosecutors want to spend their resources to pursue grow house cases in a state where the plant is already legal. "It has been a challenge to secure the necessary support for a comprehensive investigation into activities we suspected to be more extensive than just marijuana cultivation," Morton said in a statement. And all of this is complicated further by the operation's shift into the legal market. Hundreds of Chinese-linked grow houses have obtained medical growing licenses from state regulators since local police began their crackdown in 2024, according to state records. And even though the operations could still be run by organized criminal groups, having a license provides them a layer of legality to avoid scrutiny, police say. They're allowed to do this, said Dow in Pocahontas County. Our hands are tied. And for its part, Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy has said it's not able to address the problem without changes to state law, which gives the OCP little authority to deny or revoke licenses for suspected illicit activity. Their statutory role is to bring or keep growers in compliance, and officials have said not dole out punishment or investigate growers outside of the legal market. The agency has said the lack of seed to sale plant tracking and contaminant testing in the state's medical cannabis industry has further enabled illegal activity in the market. And they say, the reality continues to be that neither the OCP nor state and local law enforcement alone have sufficient authority or resources to curb the illicit cannabis operators operating in and alongside the state's medical cannabis program. Agency spokesperson Alexis Salsi wrote in an email, Maine is not the only state where law enforcement says growers with suspected ties to Chinese criminal networks have set up massive operations blurring the line between legal and illicit markets, but it is one of the few that has yet to see a large-scale federal response, and federal prosecutors have convicted only nearly 20 people in Oklahoma, where law enforcement have said Chinese organized crime controls much of the legal and illegal cannabis markets alike. In Oregon, federal authorities have seized more than a dozen illegal grow houses tied to interstate drug rings, but Maine, things have moved slower, and 10 people in the state so far have faced federal charges for their connection to the illegal grows, and the most recent in March of 2025, according to a review of court filings. All of the charges pertain to allegedly owning a grow house or financing it through bank fraud, and all but 3 of them have pleaded guilty, and all of those pleas come after Benson took the role of Maine's top federal prosecutor in October of 2025. Notably, the office has not charged anyone with human trafficking, and the U.S. Attorney's Office of Massachusetts charged 7 Chinese nationals last year with money laundering and human trafficking for running a ring of illegal grows throughout New England. And 2 of those men were licensed growers in Maine and managed operations in the state, according to a federal indictment. Darcy McUley, Benson's predecessor, maintained there has been no evidence of forced labor inside these grows, despite local law enforcement's repeated assertions to the contrary, and Benson's office declined to comment when asked whether he believes human trafficking is occurring in Maine cannabis operations. In testimony to the legislature in January, Morton, the sheriff in Pinellas County, said federal prosecutors have reversed their hesitance to take up cases following Benson's appointment, and a push from the federal government, in part from Collins, Maine's senior senator. He declined to comment further, but said in a statement this month that local authorities are collaborating with the feds to expose organized crime groups, and still those efforts have yet to materialize publicly or in a large way. Aside from an FBI search of a Fairfield dispensary in January that had been tied to Chinese organized crime groups elsewhere in the state, there has been no visible enforcement. Even that dispensary was open again within a matter of days, you guys. Wow, 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 wow. They're not doing anything about these illicit grows, and their government regulatory organization is saying that they can't do anything about it, and they need an amendment in order to do so. And it sounds like Maine is going to be Trap City for a while now. What do y'all have to say about this?
Oh, China.
China. Their hands are tied, they say, Jenny Beth.
Yeah, well,
Their hands are tied, they just don't care.
I've said this before, I'll say it again. The criminal justice system cannot solve the problem of the trap. They can't. And right now you're looking at, well, even if you had more laws, you've got to convince the cops in the street to do it, the prosecutors to bring the case. You got to throw the net wide and grab these people, charge them with RICO, and they just don't show an inclination to want to do that. So I'll tell you again, if you want to get rid of the trap, make it easy to get a license to sell weed, grow it, to move it around, and if they screw that up, take their license away.
You know what it sounds like to me, Neil? You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like this guy who's the new director sounds like maybe he's found his own self a Fang Fang, just like Eric Swalwell in his Fang Fang.
Okay.
Okay.
Want to interpret that for me, whatever that's supposed to mean?
I think he may be getting paid off by the CCP and tied with Chinese spies. That's what it sounds like to me with through this lack of prosecution. Sounds like a
You mean
payoff.
an outside spy agency is letting people do illegal stuff?
Yep.
And probably filming it and keeping track of it? Where's the Epstein files? I want to see if that holds true.
Well, hey, fair enough. Fair enough. Time will tell. Time will tell, and all things will be revealed one day.
I doubt it.
If feet would stop being
People will
dragged.
be killed.
Hey,
People will be shot.
I'm all for it. Release them all. Release them all. Expose everybody. I'm all here for it.
Oh yeah, everything.
Yep.
The Clintons are getting pissed off, so we've got to be getting close to something.
Exactly. Did you see her testimony? She was so mad.
She was very
so
mad. She
good.
said that she demanded beauty lighting, and they were like, "We can't turn the lights off."
Yeah. Oh man.
I want to see Melania's deposition. How about that?
I want to see everybody's deposition.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everybody's.
How she got an Einstein visa? Please explain that one to me, like I'm in the 5th grade.
She's smart.
Bullshit. She's not smart.
She's
Come
totally
on,
smart.
man.
She's 100% smart. She speaks multiple languages. Of course she's smart, Dale. She speaks like 5
yeah, but
different
she doesn't
languages.
speak them well. And I don't care how many times you can speak a language, if you can't connect dots. Einstein was a meta thinker, a meta-analysis intelligence. She's not that.
I don't know, Dale. I don't know.
How Jeffrey Epstein got her that, I got some ideas here. I'm seeing pictures in my mind, and they're probably in my
Oh,
period.
you dirty old Dale.
Uh-huh.
I've seen pictures of that woman naked.
I
I've
see what
never
she
seen
said.
another first lady naked.
I see
I'm
what
sorry,
he said.
help me out here.
I see what he did there. I see what he did.
I've never even seen Jenny Beth naked, but I've seen a lot of Melania naked.
Man. Any thoughts on this, Stone? I know you like Chinese boba packs.
I don't have anything to say that hadn't already been.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and hot noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.